I'm Robert Cardoza, and you're watching On the Street. This is the intersection of business and politics. This is where you're going to get the honest-to-God truth about what's really going on. I'm not going to be biased. I'm not going to be partisan. I am going to just tell you exactly like it is. You may not like it, but it'll be the truth, and you can deal with that. Now, this segment is the good news and the bad news, and my next segment, one of my favorites, are the emails that are coming in. And I've got a really good question on the emails that we'll be talking about, and you're going to find it very, very interesting. But right now, let's talk about the good news and the bad news. And who's in the news? The IRS is in the news. They're talking about tax preparation. And you know what the IRS has been doing for a number of years, and they started it with the electronic filing, is trying to trim down the professional tax preparation companies that are out there in the United States. And they've offered a lot of things that they say is free to you as a citizen. But you have to understand that there are some problems there. First of all, if you're going directly to the IRS to have them do your work, you need to know that they're having identity theft problems. They've been having them for years. They've been having them ever since they started out with the electronic filing, and they continue to have identity theft problems. You need to be extremely careful about how you're filing your tax returns. Just think about what's there. Your name, your social security number, your address, your date of birth, where you bank, your children, and all of that information. You've got to be really careful. You think about somebody stealing your identity. What would they do with all of that? Now let's talk about tax prep. Now, the IRS will do a simple return for you. That's a 1040 easy, or just about anything that doesn't have itemized deductions. They'll do that for you. And when you're watching television, have you been watching the ads from TurboTax and Tax.com and CCH and all these different tax companies? And they're saying, we will prepare your federal fileable returns absolutely free. Well, you know what? Fileable returns. So if you're electronically filing, the electronic authorization isn't going to be free. The other thing that's not going to be free is they're not doing a lot of the sophisticated tax returns. If you've got rentals and you've got a business, you're not going to be able to electronically file that, so they're going to hit you with a fee for that. The other thing is they're not going to do your state return for free. Only the federal. So what are you going to do with the state? You know, unless you live in one of those tax-free states or non-tax filing states, it's just not going to happen for you. You're going to have to pay for the state. Many years ago, people asked me what I thought about tax simplification, what would happen if they had a flat tax, and I said, I'm not worried about it. Right now, I charge you for your federal return and I do your state return for free. If they ever get into tax simplification, I'm going to do your federal return for free and charge you for your state. Well, that's exactly what these companies are doing today. And then they have these refund anticipation loans. It borders right on usury. When you think about what you're paying for a refund anticipation loan, you're paying through the nose when all you got to do is wait a couple of extra weeks and you're going to get that money anyway. And if you have it electronically deposited to your account, you know what? It's sort of like a match. It's just sort of one thing balances out the other. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But that's what's going on. Don't fall for that. I'm going to do your taxes for free. H&R Block will do your taxes for free. H&R Block says, hey, they'll go with you to your audit if you get audited. Now, there's a difference between going with you and representing you. Now, they're not going to do that for free, but you get sucked in. And pretty soon, you don't know where you're going with this. That's the bad news of what's going on. The good news is they are trying to do tax simplification for the federal government, not the states. The other thing is, you want to be thinking about what are they actually going to do if they come in with tax simplification. We've already talked about it's not going to be just a flat tax. There's going to be increments, and they're already working on that. But what they're talking about in earnest right now is a banking transaction fee. Now, they're calling it a fee so they don't have to say to you, we're going to raise your taxes. Now, this is a 1% fee. It's a banking transaction fee. It doesn't go to the bank, so don't think about that. They just become a fiduciary that holds on to the money on behalf of the government. But every time you deposit a check or deposit cash or have money wired into your account, there's going to be a 1% fee for the total amount of that. But it doesn't stop there. Every time you write a check or do a ATM withdrawal or you go to the bank and withdraw funds, there's going to be another 1% fee. To me, that's on the gross amount of money that you actually have in the bank. That's a 2% increase in your taxes that they're not going to call it an increase. But that's exactly what it is. It's a tax increase. You add that to a flat tax and elimination of itemized deductions, and you know what? Those guys that you elected to send down to Washington, D.C., the 535 members of the House of Representatives and the Senate, those guys that you represent, that you sent there to protect you, they just screwed you. And you know what? They don't even provide the Vaseline. You got to be careful. These guys only want one thing. They want to get elected. And then once they get elected, all they want to do is stay elected. Neither one of those things has anything to do with representing your best interests in the United States. Just think about it. It is not in your best interest. You need to be watching what's going on. You know, Ronald Reagan said it when he was talking about Russia. You know, that's trust, but verify. When you're talking about Congress, you can't trust them. And you better verify it. And the only strength, the only power you have is at the polling place. And just remember, we said it a few weeks ago. You can recall anyone you want if they're not doing a good job for you. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what you got to be thinking about. Other thing that's good, self-leasing has stayed intact with the Internal Revenue Code. So when you're talking about business, you need to separate your assets from the operating business and lease those assets to the operating business. It gives you a 100% lease cost deduction, and it gives you the depreciation off the assets. It's going to lower your overall tax liabilities. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that. That's good stuff. Now, coming up next is one of my very favorite segments of the show, and that's the emails. And I've got one email in particular here that I'm really excited to discuss with you. And I think that you're going to find this really intriguing, because this is another one of those areas where the Republicans and the Democrats are fighting and blaming each other for what's going on. You know what? Just wait until you find out the truth. It's unbelievable what these guys, I'll tell you. You know what? They know that they can lie to you, because tomorrow you're going to forget all about it. Now, I want to remind everybody that you are watching On the Street. This is the intersection of business and politics. I'm out there and I am combing all the data that's there so that I can give you honest, factual information that you can make decisions on. Remember, it's On the Street, intersection of business and politics. I'm Robert Cardoza.